4.7. Framing Observability and Reliability. How seniors talk about systems that fail and still stay trustworthy. At some point, every system reaches a stage where speed and capacity are no longer the biggest questions. Instead, interviews start focusing on something deeper. Can this system be trusted, especially when things go wrong? Because outages happen, networks fail, dependencies behave unpredictably, and sometimes a small bug quietly becomes a big problem. Junior answers usually start with tools. They talk about dashboards, logs, alerting platforms. But senior answers start differently. They start with visibility. Observability means being able to understand what the system is doing, without guessing. Logs explain events. Metrics reveal trends. Traces connect calls across services and show where time disappears. Together, they let you reconstruct the story of a failure instead of chasing rumors. On interviews, you don't need to list tool names. Instead, you say something like, "In our systems, we focused on observability so that we always know what's happening in production. We log important events, we track latency and error rates, and we use tracing to see how requests flow across services. That way, when something breaks, we learn instead of panicking." That sentence already sounds senior, calm, practical, grounded. Reliability is the second part of the conversation. It is not about pretending failures won't happen. It is about designing so that failures are survivable. That means redundancy instead of single points of failure, graceful degradation when something is unavailable, health checks, failover strategies, and rehearsed recovery procedures. And when interviewers hear you say, "We assume components will fail, so we design for it. We test failovers. We think about what users see when something is down." Reliability isn't luck. It's preparation. That's when they recognize experience. Mature teams don't celebrate only uptime. They celebrate recoverability. They run chaos experiments, not because they enjoy breaking things, but because they don't want real incidents to be their first rehearsal. And here's the key message you want to communicate in any interview. Observability tells us what is happening right now. Reliability ensures the system keeps serving users, even when parts of it are broken. You don't need dramatic language. You just explain calmly how you reduce surprises and shorten recovery time. That is what sounding senior really means. Less excitement about tools, more focus on outcomes, users, and steady learning from failures. Because reliable systems don't exist by accident. They exist because teams expect failure and practice coming back from it. Once you start thinking this way, something interesting happens. You don't actually say more in interviews. You simply say things more clearly. And that brings us straight into the next topic. How to sound senior by simplifying, not complicating. End of 4.7.